everybody. How's it going? Hope you're all doing well. I'm just now getting out of work on this Sunday, and I wanted to talk a little bit about funerals in the Philippines. You know, as devastating as it is, none of us like to deal with death, especially when it's a family member. It's really hard to deal with the fact that that loved one is no longer with you. But it's even harder when the funds are not there to take care of it. And I find funerals in the Philippines very interesting, unlike how it is here in the US. When someone dies, okay, yes, they go through the embalmment, they go through, and then there's a viewing for that loved one. And it's the same in the Philippines. Except in the Philippines, the loved one is either laid up in your home, or they put something together to lay the loved one out. I've actually seen them to where, because people really don't have the room to lay their loved one out in their home, so it could be next to a road or what have you. But I found it rather interesting on some of the things that they do. Here, when there is a funeral and the body is still in good shape, in other words, it's not mutilated or what have you, or it was through an auto accident, where you get where I'm going with this. You have a casket of the loved one, and they usually have the top section open, so when you walk up to the casket, you can actually touch your loved one. But in the Philippines, it's different. They have like a plexiglass that goes over from like the waist up, or from the chest up, whatever. But I had noticed on one video that I had watched, where there was a baby chick sitting on top of on this loved one's casket. And I learned to find out that chick was placed there because this person died of a stabbing. And I also found out through this video that nobody is to sweep the floors while the loved one is laid out. Candles must be burning at all times. And if the body is laid out in your home, this was something my wife had shared with me. I don't quite understand it. I guess, it's hard for me to understand. But if the body is laid out in your home, nobody in the family is permitted to take a shower while the body is in the home. Something else that she had mentioned to me about wearing red or something. It's very interesting, very interesting. Here in the US, my wife was here probably about a year, and a very dear friend had passed, and my wife had gone with me to the funeral. And this is before I had realized how funerals are done in the Philippines. I hadn't realized that there's like a plexiglass, a window that goes over the body. And I asked my wife, would you like to walk up with me to the casket? And she said no. And I respected her, not wanting to do so. And I later find out that she was scared to death. She was scared to death because that casket was wide open. The body was exposed. People were walking up and touching this loved one by the hand or what have you. And some people even leaning over and kissing this loved one. And she was scared of this. And I hadn't realized that had an effect on her. It's very interesting. So maybe some of you could answer some of these questions that I have. Why can't you take a shower if a loved one is laid up in your home? I understand about the placing the baby chick on the coffin. That is only done if this person died of a stabbing. You cannot sweep the floors. And what is it exactly? Something about wearing red or something like that. When I have been in the Philippines the last 3 times, I have experienced funerals where people are walking behind the body. Family members, friends. So you don't see that sort of thing here in the States. I think it's really sad with how it is done in the Philippines. If you don't have the money, and maybe you guys can answer this for me. If you don't have money to bury that loved one, okay, what happens to the body? What do they do with the body? And the other thing that I found rather interesting is you are actually renting that spot for the loved one. You have to pay, I guess it's monthly, for that loved one to be there. If you no longer pay the rent, then they remove the body. These sort of things are unheard of here in the States. Although funerals are extremely expensive here. Funerals can, just the burial alone could be $4,000 or $5,000. All in all, for the funeral, the burial, it could be well over $10,000 for this. And what, how do I want to say it? Is it a holiday that, is it a holiday or just one specific time throughout the year that everybody goes to the cemetery and they hang out and they stay with the loved one? It's like in honor of that loved one. These things are very interesting to me. Although I don't agree with some of it. I don't agree if you don't have the money that you get treated that way and your loved one gets treated that way. I don't believe that it should be that way. What they do have is gambling. They do some gambling to try to raise more money for the funeral. Although gambling is against the law there, they make exceptions, I guess, for that sort of thing. I just watched a video of a family that is poor, and their infant child had died, and they were going through the exact same thing. The money is just not there. The money is just not there. And I believe that out of respect for the loved one, for anybody for that matter, it should just be done. It should just be done and over with. Here, most bodies are placed in the ground. They dig a hole 6 feet deep and they place the body in the ground. There's also cremation. It's my understanding that is something new to the Philippines. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but they started doing cremation. Is cremation a lot cheaper than going the other route? I know here there's a lot of people now going with cremation because it costs so much less. But you're also given a urinal. It's an urinal, I can't even say it right, where they place the ashes of your loved one in this jar. And my brother-in-law had died here. It's been a little over a year now, and that's how he was cremated, and he was placed in a urinal, an urn, and oh my gosh, sorry guys. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And my sister has it placed. She did have it sitting out, but we told her you might not want to leave it out all the time, because you have to, you want to try to get past certain things. You'll never forget the loved one, but I don't think you want it sitting out all the time. But there's just things that in the Philippines, the way it's done. Now, my wife explained to me a lot of these things come from the Spaniard. When the Spaniards came in, and these are the sort of things that I guess the Philippines have picked up on, and they continue with this. Excuse me. There it was. It's either a cough, a sneeze, or my bottle. I find it very interesting, but by no means, there's no disrespect whatsoever on how things are done there. It's just really, really different than what we're used to here. When my wife was sitting next to me and they were moving the casket to the front of the church, she's noticed the casket. They were rolling it up, and she was right on the end, and she jumped up over me. She jumped over my lap to get to the other side because it scared her that much, not realizing at that time that she's just not used to that sort of thing. So yeah guys, I got a little dippity in my lippity right now. But anyhow, I just find it very interesting, and I just sort of kind of wish things were a little bit different for y'all over there. Not making it so difficult, you know what I mean? Don't make it so difficult for the people. Okay? Those that live there that have wealth, that's not a problem. It's not a problem, but not everybody has the kind of money that they're asking, and this is your loved one. You want only the best for them. They deserve that. You're honoring that loved one, especially if it's a parent, a mother or father or a grandparent, or even a child, anybody for that matter. It should be honored. And I don't think that is showing honor if you're having a difficult time with that, with paying. So that's where I'm at with it, guys. I just find it rather interesting. And if you want to leave a comment on this sort of thing, to help educate me a little bit more on this sort of thing. It was just something that, you know, I had seen a video on this, and it's very interesting to me. It's very interesting on how things are done around the globe. And yes, here it's almost the same as in the medical field, where you will not be turned down for medical. They will see you, they'll take care of you, they'll do what they got to do. But you'll get hit later with a very large bill. I'm not too familiar with how they do funerals. If you have to pay something before the funeral, I really doubt that. It's just one of those things where you owe this bill. So, you know, it's just really different. So the way they do the funerals over there is almost the same as how they do the medical. You know, I think that's really sad too. If you don't have the money, you can't get the care. How many people have either died because they can't get medical care there because they don't have the money? I guess there is a government program that does help, but how many people qualify, or how many people are successful with getting that help? So that's my take on this. If you guys want to leave a comment and maybe educate me a little bit more on, and if there's things that I have missed, I'd be really interested to hear more on these funerals. So until then, keep it real, love the ones you're with, because you just never know. And I will see you in the next video. Till then, peace, my friends.
I'm just gonna close my eyes and pretend that I'm not here. All these empty faces talking about problems, I don't care. I can't wait till sundown, cause my body's aching. I just wanna dance, I just wanna dance.